This weekend marks around 1 month since I started working on the current iteration of my latest aptly titled project, Untitled Driving Game. I state current iteration because when I started working on what I initially thought was going to be the game, I was prototyping it inside of another project I'm working on called Drive-By, but more about that and Project Tar another time. This quickly became a problem as I was simply further prototyping ideas for Drive-By instead of working on a completely new game. Luckily, I realized this around the end of the second week of the project and decided to fully pivot away into a new game. I loaded up a new blank project in Unreal Engine and created a Git repo under the alias THPD. If that doesn't immediately ring any bells, I announced the change via Twitter in my daily project thread. Let's back up for a second and talk about what my motivations for Untitled Driving Game are. Why not just work on one of the other two projects that I announced? Well, simply put, while they all revolve around driving, which will allow me to focus on a specific niche of games that I want to make, they each have very different styles and focus. Untitled Driving Game will be a more unrealistic, fun, stylized driving game with planned multiplayer. Project Tar will be an endless single-player game with arcade driving. And then Drive-By will be an open-world, story-based driving game with multiplayer elements. And I've left specific details out on purpose. The thing is, the way I came up with these games is in the opposite order that I planned to make them. Drive-By started out as a first commercial title that I wanted to make, and then it quickly evolved into the first game that I feel like I really need to make, one that's kind of personal to me, but I want to take my time on it and get it right. Project Tar will allow me to prototype and implement a more realistic vehicle system, as well as focus on a very small single-player story. And I say more realistic in terms of Untitled Driving Game. An Untitled Driving Game will allow me to go through the process of building and releasing a commercial game, but more importantly, a multiplayer driving game, so that I can figure out what it actually takes to build and support one. All these projects will bleed into each other at some point, and I'm excited to take on each of them for different reasons. Now back to Untitled Driving Game. Honestly, I wasn't sure exactly what I was building at first. One thing I knew for certain was that I wanted a more fun-focused driving experience, and that realism was not the goal in terms of gameplay or graphics. With that in mind, instead of using a vehicle plugin from the marketplace, the base vehicle just started out as the hovercraft from my game Vehicle, to which I quickly added wheels to and updated the mesh with a placeholder sedan that I've used previously. This base just uses 4 corner raycasts that each extend from a point on the physics body to the ground, and then push the vehicle up with force. You can then just apply force to move and torque to turn the vehicle. I'll just say it right now, I can't really recommend creating your own vehicle system, especially for a solo commercial project, unless you know what you're doing. I definitely don't, but luckily I'm stubborn and I have an existing base, and then I also have plenty of time to work around and play with and tweak the vehicle. Ignoring the base that I have, and granted that I added a little bit more functionality than just driving around, it took me almost a full month to get that vehicle in a place where it felt good enough for me to be okay with switching focus, and it's still nowhere near finished. It might look good in the videos, but what you don't see is how many times the vehicle still spins out while grinding a rail, or how when it lands sometimes the ass end just pounds the earth 100 times until you jump. Trust me, it sounds funny, but it's really annoying. That's not even to mention things like network replication or the need to ensure that your physics are tied to a fixed time step so they don't break when Timmy tries to run the game on his toaster.
Oh look, Untitled Driving Game works on Android. Kind of.
So I have a working physics vehicle base that can jump around, it can grind on splines, flip and roll in the air, so what now? While I was working on that, I also started prototyping some small gameplay elements here and there. First I started by adding a passenger that you could deliver to a destination, so Crazy Taxi, and then I added a package that you could deliver, so it's Smuggler's Run. Well, then I added some letters to pick up, so it's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Now, seeing the previous tweets and videos, you wouldn't be off base if any of these titles came to mind, as they're all among games being used as inspiration for Untitled Driving Game. The goal of Untitled Driving Game is to be a combo-based, stylistically fun driving game with multiplayer elements, and that's the route I'm headed towards. Right now, it's not the best elevator pitch, but I don't want to go too much deeper into the details until I have some gameplay actually ready to show off. I want the game to have both single-player and multiplayer modes, but I think the game will really shine in multiplayer, and I'm trying to build the game mechanics with that focus in mind. I want to suit a wide range of skill and play styles while still remaining fun and competitive for everybody. I want to very much craft an experience that's easy to get into and succeed without being a mechanical genius or memorizing the single best route for the most points, but that still offers players the ability to dominate. Hopefully that's not digging myself into a bottomless pit straight from the beginning. In shooting for a more stylized driving experience, I'm also aiming towards a stylized art direction. I've always preferred 3D games and loved seeing graphical improvements over the years, but my honeymoon with loving hyperrealism in games died somewhere around the middle of the PS3 era. When indie gaming started to really hit its stride around that time, I developed a love for more artistic styles that didn't pop up very often in mainstream AAA games. I've never been big into comics, and I'm not into anything anime related, so a lot of these styles are pretty new to me. It constantly blows my mind to see how these playable experiences can be depicted in just so many different styles and palettes. And the fact that today so many shaders exist to just give you these effects immediately and instantly transform the look and feel of your game is just even more wild. But one particular effect I've always loved is toon shading, plus an outline effect to go with it, so that's the direction that I'm going with for Untitled Driving Game. The level you've seen up until now is just a playground level. It's very possible that I'll leave it in the game as a tutorial or home level, or maybe even as a secret unlock, but it won't be the first main level in the game. The first level I'm working on is codenamed LATC and is under construction. One of the goals for this first map is to focus on verticality instead of making it span a massive area. I want the player to feel like they're driving a vehicle, but controlling it more like a pawn that's rapidly moving through the landscape in ways and areas a vehicle wouldn't normally traverse. This map will feature a sprawling brick campus nestled in the middle of a downtown area surrounded by some other yet to be determined landmarks. I'm not exactly sure of the scale yet, but I want to focus on the main area that I'm building out now. So what's next? I'm going to continue building out the LATC level while prototyping some more gameplay elements and tuning the vehicle. Personally, I feel that I have to have it one first pass complete map in order to implement the gameplay and tweak it in any kind of meaningful way. I need to test out the basic networking to ensure that my physics vehicle can be replicated and I can have at least 2 controllable pawns in a server at one time. After that, I can start honing in on tying the gameplay mechanics together and really start working on a playable prototype. I estimate that it's going to take me around 2 months to get to that state without any major roadblocks, which means it'll probably take me 4 if I'm really lucky. That's about it for now. I didn't want to get too technical because, to be honest, I haven't done anything super technical in the project yet. I'm still barely scratching the surface of the hard parts that are yet to come. I'm aiming to have, at the very least, a vertical slice of this project done in a year, which means I need to have something ready by September 2021. I think that's doable, and so far I think I'm on a good track. I'd probably be lying if I said I felt like this project was going to provide me any sort of real income or profit when it's all said and done, but so far I feel really good about it. I can't wait to see what it becomes and share it with you guys. If you're interested in following me on the journey, go follow me on Twitter and stay up to date with my work, and you can watch Untitled Driving Game Evolved. You can also visit my website, elocnat.com, to keep up with everything and read this blog post. Links for everything will be below in the description. Appreciate you watching. Have a good one.